talk to anybody, you don't interact with anybody. Your whole sense of reality is pretty warped.
Journal of Captain Lee Briggs, 1864.
When we look at evolution, we usually look at like a Darwinian evolution. We say, well, an organism was very simple here, and then through evolution and evolution and evolution, we evolved all these organisms from this little primitive one. And so we just look at evolution as one continuous unfolding process. But that is a mistaken perception as well for this reason. Evolution has start and stop points. And when it gets to the stop point, it restarts again and uses the same pattern. So the first organisms, that little primitive group that was down here at the very bottom, were bacteria. And we see bacteria as these free living little primitive cells. And it turns out our studies reveal that bacteria live in community. They communicate with each other. There's a whole web, an internet, so to speak, among all the bacterial cells, because they keep each other informed about what's going on in the world. So there's a sharing of awareness. That sharing of awareness, some of it is viruses. That's a way of communicating. That's held the cells together. But what evolution found was it couldn't make a smarter bacterium. And so to make more intelligence, what it did is it brought a whole bunch of bacteria together in a group, in a community, and put a membrane around it. And these bacteria live in a little tiny membrane, and we call that the next level of evolution, called the amoeba. The amoeba is a complex cell made out of primitive bacteria who cooperate together. So we had single cell bacteria form a community, which then becomes a single amoeba. Well, now these amoebas, which are communities of bacteria, they start evolving, and then they start to come together in communities themselves. So now we have communities of amoebas, which each amoeba is a community of bacteria. So we had a single cell and then a community. And then the community became a single cell, and then that formed a bigger community, which is us. Then we evolved, and now, okay, so we've maxed out our awareness, but how do you make more intelligence? The evolutionary pattern is always, first you create the entity, then you create the community of entities. So where are we? We are in a level of becoming aware that we are not a whole bunch of individual people as we see it. We are one thing called humanity. And when we come together in the community of humanity, that will complete this evolution on this planet. Because what the next level of evolution is, our planet becomes a cell and then hooks up with the other planets, which are other cells, and we form an intergalactic superorganism. So we're on a step-by-step thing. So the biggest jump we have to do right now is let go of the past vision of our separateness and our individuality, which is a Darwinian belief. Remember, the Darwin theory said that evolution is driven by a struggle for survival, with the survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
So in our vision, it's like, oh, the best human is the evolution of humanity. And sort of like, nature doesn't care about the best human. Nature says, what are humans as a group doing to the garden called Gaia? And so if nature was going to have a court, which it's having right now because we're going extinct, and this is a scientific reality. And why are we going extinct? Well, this is not the first time. There have been 5 times in the history before where life got wiped out essentially and then started over again.
No scientist has been able to explain, for example, why water's density increases below the freezing point and becomes less above freezing.
Any substance contracts when it is cooled, but water does the opposite. It expands. People learned to exploit this unique property in the distant past. Inhabitants of the far north would quarry stone by pouring water into the cliff face crevices before the frosts came. In the south, people pounded wooden wedges into cracks in the rock and then doused them with water. As they swelled, the wedges would break the stone. Much later, scientists established that water in pores and capillaries is capable of creating enormous levels of pressure. In a seed, for example, it reaches 400 atmospheres at the moment of germination. That's why a plant shoot can break through asphalt with ease.
It's such a small molecule as well. It is very specific that these properties are of water, and you won't find other molecules that have all of the similar anomalies.
Even if a single one of these anomalies were missing, life itself would not exist on the planet.
Every one of water's properties is unique, and they do not easily fit into the generally accepted laws of physics. Science has not yet been able to answer the question of why water is the only substance on the planet that can exist in 3 states: liquid, solid, and gaseous. Why does water have the highest surface tension of all liquids? Why is it the most powerful solvent on Earth? And how, in defiance of the Earth's gravity, is water able to rise through the trunks of gigantic trees against tens of atmospheres of pressure?
Number one, the Mayan calendar says we are headed for a high consciousness time. Number two, this calendar of theirs did not stop in 2012. Instead, the Mayan civilization stopped, probably due to famine. And this is what the archaeologists believe. There are many pieces and parts of their calendar that go out to the year 4000. They were working on a system of time fractals. Believe it or not, that's what they were doing with the calendar, and they had a pretty good idea of what was going to be a time fractal, and it aligns with the galactic alignment. That's an astronomical alignment of the planet that happens in 2012, or approximately 2012. So the bottom line, what I'm telling and answering the question is, stand by for a decision point in humanity that could very well be one of the best things we've ever had. What if it led us into a consciousness that would no longer have war, or would see things different, or a collective that would actually put things together instead of tearing them apart? And that is what we're looking at. That's what the mind said.
Why it's important now is that a mass extinction occurs when you lose large numbers of species very, very rapidly. Well, scientists have recognized we are now in a mass extinction. We are losing species of organisms on this planet at record numbers in history that has ever been done. And this cause is a lot closer to home, this extinction, than the previous ones with, comets, asteroids, whatever it was. This extinction, according to science, is due to human behavior. That we are undermining the garden, the biological ecosphere. That we're causing big holes in that network, and it's causing a collapse of the system. Most importantly, as we talk about this extinction, like, oh, we're going to lose the lions and all these things, it's like, yeah, and we're going to lose the humans as well. That's part of the extinction. So we have a choice. This is a choice point right now. We have been creating the extinction, and it's only through our awareness and our changing of the way we live on this planet that there's an opportunity to survive and make it through this extinction. So this is a choice point. And this is really so cool for this reason. Evolution is going to be a participatory process. We have to participate. It's not an accident. It's not that we go home and turn on the television and fall asleep and then we wake up in the next morning and go, oh, a whole new evolution. It's like, no. This is an evolution where we make a difference based on the way we are living in regard to the other people and regard to the ecosphere. And this is a wake-up call because science says, look, like within 30 years, think about this, I mean, it's mind-boggling. Within 30 years, the fish that we depend on in the ocean will be gone. Imagine a planet Earth with all these oceans and no big fish in it. Well, that's not like a fantasy. That's a scientific reality, and that's 30 years. So it's like this wake-up call is coming. We have to make a response to it, and we have to change the way we live on this planet, and we have to treat each other differently, and most importantly, treat our Mother Earth quite different than the way we've been doing it. And if we don't do this, the writing's already on the wall. It's like, okay, kiss it goodbye. It's gone. And yet, I'm very optimistic.
Oh là la mer. Oh, ça doit être ça qu'on appelle la pollution. Oh, ça fait mal. Faut absolument que je trouve de l'eau pour appeler chez moi. Je vois pas une seule robe empire à l'horizon. Oh, j'ai pas l'air d'une crétine, moi, avec ma robe empire. Et toutes ces automobiles. Et le bruit. Ça a pas l'air de les déranger, ce bruit. Ça doit être des maisons, ces grands trucs gris, là. Les pauvres, tous entassés là-dedans. Près du bruit. Il n'y a pas beaucoup d'arbres, mais alors qu'est-ce qu'ils sont beaux. Qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent bien transporter dans ces sacs. Pourquoi ils ont tous des sacs comme ça? Oh, ils ont mauvaise mine. Oh, il y a des malades. Mais c'est l'estomac. L'estomac, le cœur, le foie, l'estomac, l'estomac, l'estomac. C'est trop. Ces bouts de ferraille qui s'accrochent aux oreilles et au cou. Ça doit être des genres de signes religieux primitifs. Dire que je détestais l'archéologie en classe, j'étais bien bête. Oh, c'est maintenant que ça me serait utile, l'archéologie. C'est quoi ça? C'est de la terre, ça? Oh, la main, c'est leur moquer de mettre là leur terre.